The story starts near the mystical city of Khonsu, near the ice-cold mountains of the Himalayas. At the gates of the city, Moon Knight kneels in prayer to his patron god Khonsu, waiting for Iron Fist to show up. You know I live in Manhattan, right? Iron Fist approaches him jovially, pointing out that there are better ways to get his attention than letting all the security alarms around the mountain ring out. He knows how Moon Knight tripped off all the alarms knowingly, and asks if he is the Moon Knight. Moon Knight replies cryptically, and Iron Fist keeps talking, clearly not aware of how dicey things are soon going to get. Moon Knight stands up from his position and declares that he seeks the Iron Fist. Danny remains ignorant of the situation. He smiles and asks Moon Knight if he needs help defeating some bad guys. Moon Knight reiterates that he seeks the Iron Fist and attacks Danny. Danny's caught off guard, but he blocks the first attack and the follow-up. Fed up, he shoves Moon Knight back. What the hell is this? Moon Knight doggedly responds that he seeks the Iron Fist. Danny grabs him by the throat and tells him to snap out of it. Moon Knight punches him in the face and Iron Fist settles into a stance. He uses a series of techniques on the Knight while telling him that he can help him get help if it's a mental episode. When he knocks Moon Knight down, the moon shines brightly, stunning him and allowing Moon Knight to gain the upper hand. The beatdown is insane. Iron Fist threatens to kill him, but he simply removes the Ankh amulet from around his neck and uses it to sap the fire of the immortal dragon of Khonsu from the Iron Fist's body. Dr. Stephen Strange is next on the list. In the Sanctum Sanctorum in Greenwich Village, Dr. Strange holds off a horde of undead mummies. He marvels at their stupidity in attacking him in his own home and promises to send them to their doom. As he holds them off, he hears a response telling him the dead are already doomed, as so is he too. He recognizes the voice as Moon Knight's own, and he asks if Mark has lost his mind to the demented lunar overlord again. He doesn't see the punch coming. It knocks him down, and when he falls, he sees Moon Knight standing over him, with several Khonsu worshippers sitting cross-legged around him. Dr. Strange looks at him in horror. Did you just hit me with a piece of the Iron Fist? Oh, Mark, what have you done? The Khonsu worshippers blast Dr. Strange with their powers. Mark uses the Ankh to sap his powers and informs him that the Knight is the biggest supermoon in 1,000,000 years, and that he couldn't have stood against him if they actually did brawl. He steals Ghost Rider's car and rallies an undead army to lay siege to Wakanda. Black Panther meets him outside the city and Moon Knight challenges him to a duel, so nobody else has to fall in battle. On seeing it's a hopeless situation, Black Panther surrenders. He informs Moon Knight that his powers are in his blood, and if he wants them, he has to take all of him. Next victim on the list is the mighty Thor. As Thor flies to Midgard, he finds Moon Knight standing on the moon. He lands and declares that the assault on the Avengers and their allies is over, and he demands that the Moon Knight stands down, or I would drench this moon in your blood. The Moon Knight says nothing, and Thor swings his hammer and hurls it at Mark with the force of a hurricane. As the hammer hurtles toward the Moon Knight, he admonishes Thor, saying that despite the fact that he has wielded the hammer for hundreds of years, he still doesn't know what it is. He puts a hand up and stops the hammer in its tracks. Thor is surprised and tries to summon it back to him, but it doesn't respond to his pull. Moon Knight informs him that the hammer is made of Uru, which is a moon rock and therefore under his control. Levitating the hammer, he uses it to attack Thor repeatedly. Thor roars and brags that he doesn't need a hammer to beat the Knight, but Mark simply tells him he doesn't stand a chance now that they're on the moon. He controls the hammer to smash into Thor with such force that it sends him hurtling into space. Mjolnir, why have you forsaken me? As Thor drifts through space, the Moon Knight summons many moons from different galaxies and crushes Thor between their weights. He brags about having just felled a god. As he revels in his victory, a voice whispers that it may not be enough. He muses on the fact that he doesn't yet have the powers of the Panther, the Phoenix, and the Starbrand, but it would have to be enough. The voice tells him the real work can then begin. We then see him bow down to the lunar god Khonsu, who approves of his work and tells him they can now save the world. The story ends here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel.